local weather with the KX News Storm Team.
Welcome back into KX News at noon, where we're taking a look at a few scattered showers and isolated storms down towards the far southwestern corner of the state. Be glad that we're thankfully not dealing with this kind of mess closer to Devil's Lake, where we're seeing some of those steady showers and even lots of rumbles of thunder out there in that portion of the state. Let's zoom you a little bit tighter in. So if you're closer towards Mott, Elgin area, just make sure you do have the rain jacket and the umbrella handy. Again, I'm really not expecting, if you are seeing some isolated rumbles of thunder, for any of these to become severe. But just be mindful of that as you head out the door for your lunchtime plans this afternoon. And right now, we're kind of holding steady into those 70s across the board. And notice, as we're looking at areas that are kind of closer relatively to where we're seeing those steadier showers and a fire hose of rain, we're caught up into those lower 60s. So Rugby, Turtle Mountain sitting into the low 60s. You can see much of us getting into those 70s. We even are near 80 degrees out in Wolf Point there in northeastern Montana. Now, I do think we're going to continue to gain quite a few degrees as we head into this afternoon here. We're going to be closer to the mid to upper 80s. Now, some spots could approach near 90. I think we're going to have a tough time at doing so just because of where we stand temperature-wise right now and the fact that we're kind of seeing more of those clouds in place here. But we do have to address the potential for severe weather going into this evening. Now, specifically that area that is highlighted within the yellow there, that level 2 slight risk that you're seeing, that stripe in western North Dakota. Now, should we see any storms developing and should they become severe, Storm Prediction Center has highlighted the potential for about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, even up to 70, and about ping pong ball sized hail. So just be mindful of that. I want you to stay weather aware going into this evening. Of course, stay with the KX Storm Team. We'll have more updates throughout this evening's shows as well. But again, as this front continues to kind of sit a little bit stationary down towards our south, still ushering in more of that rain. So specifically right along Highway 83 there to the north of Bismarck, you can see this continues to move further up to the north and east. And after that, the clouds are likely going to stay in place. And you may be seeing a few isolated spot showers, but this may be what we call a bit of our dry slotting period for another round of rain approaches. Now, I do think this model is specifically overdoing it when it comes to tomorrow's forecast. In fact, most model guidance I have been looking at kind of depicting a better chance for drier conditions, at least through tomorrow morning. But I still don't want you to let your guard down. Make sure you are staying weather aware because we could very likely still see some rumbles of thunder as we head into tomorrow morning as well. But regardless, the 80s are going to hang on by a thread even going into tomorrow. Looking at Williston's next 5, cooling off into those 70s going into the weekend. Could possibly get back into the 80s as we get into Monday. And as we take a look at Dickinson's next 5 here, we're going to be into the upper 80s today, down near the mid 80s for tomorrow, cooling right back down into those 70s as those rain chances get ushered in. And taking a look at Minot's next several days. We'll be into those 80s for today and tomorrow, cooling off into the 70s for the weekend. And we may just barely squeeze out those 80s for early next week. And finally, as we take a look at Bismarck's next several days, holding tight into those mid 80s for today and tomorrow, cooling off into the 70s. However, those rain chances will increase for the weekend. I don't think it's going to be a total washout weather-wise. The pattern dries out as we get into early next week, Chance.
All right, Vanessa. Well, if you like the heat, you got a little bit more time to enjoy it before the fall temperatures roam on in.